2024. The year of assassinations, the year DC started to make a comeback, the year Fortnite began to fall off, but most importantly, the year of... And what a fantastic year it was! And unlike the year of a certain other video game character, it didn't almost cripple a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Not only did we get 2 new TV shows, even if one of them was a doo-doo, a port of Sonic Generations, bundled with a spiritual sequel to Shadow the Hedgehog, but also a brand new live-action movie that completely curve-stomped Disney at the box office. Never want to hear people dissing the GOAT again. It's safe to say the year of Shadow was a major investment for Sega, and a full 5-course meal for the fans. But with the year of Edge at its end, let's take this time together to reminisce on the past year and really take in what made the year of Shadow so good. We're not going month by month, I just couldn't think of a good transition, I'm sorry. But we got Shadow in brick form. Merchandise and game tie-ins were of course kind of the meat and potatoes of this year for Sega, with the most important being Lego Shadow with his bike from 06. So this technically counts as a video for the OG channel, right? There was also some smaller collaborations throughout the year, like this kind of stupid skin for a game that I refuse to talk about, even in passing because of how ass it is. Just like Sonic Prime, which got its 3rd and final season, that I still have not finished 1 year later. Wow. There was of course the obligatory movie collaboration in Sonic Dash and Forces Speed Battle, but most shockingly of all, a Shadow the Hedgehog manga that coincided with the release of Sonic X Shadow Generations, which gives us a better insight into Shadow's time with Maria on the Ark, and also gives Shadow an existential crisis as to why he was born and killed people on screen, along with Maria. The manga goes for a completely different take on Shadow Generations, with Black Doom disguising himself as this thing, and is shown in style fight against Mephiles, who busts out this new form that's kind of like an incomplete Solaris. At the time of recording, the manga isn't over yet, so I might return to it someday, since again, it's a generally interesting departure from Shadow Generations. There's also a Chao manga, because of course there was, but since there's no dialogue, it's purely just a cute display of Chao art. But speaking of giving more insight to Shadow's time on the Ark, we were blessed with Sonic X Shadow Generations Dark Beginnings. Undoubtedly the best Sonic show in terms of both animation and writing. While the show is incredibly short with all 3 episodes running out to about 15 minutes total, which is criminal, we still need a full series animated like this. So goated. Aside from the flashy fight scenes, the highlight of the series is recontextualizing Shadow's time on the Ark, by revealing that Gerald was also studying the Gizoids, with Emerald being kept on board the space colony, presumably as a way to find a cure for Maria's illness, as the Gizoids have a close link to the Chaos Emeralds, similar to the Ultimate Lifeform himself. It's a neat bit of world building, which can also be said about showing us how Gunn stormed the Ark, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is also the first time we've actually seen how Gunn infiltrated the Ark, at least in the main game continuity. Aside from cross-promotion, the main purpose of this show is to expand on Shadow's past by giving both the character and audience a sense of closure towards Shadow's relationship with Gunn post-adventure games, and as a way for him to move on from Maria's death, which is perfectly emphasized in the final scene of Dark Beginnings, with Shadow's mind being flooded with memories of the Ark, as the new vocal song for this series, Without You, builds in the background. Again, while Dark Beginnings has incredible animation, it's a shame there was just 3 short episodes. But hopefully in the future, Sega collaborates with Studio Gigax for more Sonic shorts, or better yet, a full-fledged TV show. Crazy though, the Sonic Generations remains the best Sonic game 13 years later, with Sonic X Shadow Generations. And listen, I get it's called out to tie in with Sonic 3's Japanese title, being Sonic X Shadow Tokyo Mission, but like someone at Sega had to realize how sus that title is. Although then again, they did acknowledge Hedgehog Yaoi when promoting Forces, so maybe they are aware.
Oh, I just got a message here from Infinite. It's a file called Sonado.
No, don't open that!
Interestingly, they actually made a few changes to base Sonic Generations, with new, and I mean new in air quotes, cutscenes in an attempt to flesh out Generations' paper-thin story, but it kinda just backfired with questionable voice direction.
Where am I?
And very unfitting animations.
Thanks, Sonic. Now then, tell me, where is the rest of my island?
What, did he eat the island? Fat fuck. If Sega wanted to actually rewrite Generations, then at least put in the extra budget to animate new cutscenes. I mean, they went in and changed how Amy interacts with Sonic in this remaster, so why not go all out with actual new cutscenes? Other than those minor critiques, this is pretty much a near perfect remaster. You even have skins now, and they're drop dash for classic Sonic. It's a little lame though that they removed the ability to unlock Sonic 1, but I suppose it's better than them just sticking in an ad for Sonic Origins. On the other hand, all of those critiques can quite easily be ignored when you remember that, oh yeah, they threw in a brand new Shadow game, and it's so fucking peak. Gameplay wise, it feels like a natural evolution from Frontiers with a slightly faster feel and much improved homing attack. It's been nearly 3 years, but I still don't understand why they didn't think to tweak Sonic's moveset when in cyberspace. This shit was ass. The Chaos Control and Doom Power abilities work perfectly towards making Shadow feel distinct enough from Sonic's gameplay without being a total departure from the core gameplay experience, with a total of 4 Doom powers. Doom Spears, which are just stronger Chaos Spears. Doom Surf, allowing Shadow to surf, which has some kind of finicky controls. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of how you're constantly moving forward, as it leads to some awkward turns in the overworld, but maybe it's a skill issue. Doom Morph, which is undoubtedly the worst Doom power. Shadow turns into this blob that moves at a snail's pace, since you're supposed to use this ability to swing from these balls. However, what the game doesn't tell you is that if you let go of the swing directly under the orbs, you will get shot directly upwards, making Doom Morph a somewhat better ability, but also not really. And Doom Wings, allowing Shadow to glide after obtaining 50 rings, which is an interesting alternative to Super Shadow. Since this game occurs at the same time as Sonic Generations, you can't exactly have Shadow also going around collecting the Chaos Emeralds. And unlike Knuckles Glide, there's no dip. There's also technically a 5th ability called Doom Blast, but it's essentially just one of Sonic's combos from Frontiers with a bit more flair, so... The stage list is also something to be highlighted, as Sega technically answered to fan demands for New Generation stages after, 13 years? With 7 brand new stages. Space Colony Arc and Radical Highway from SA2, Rail Canyon from Heroes, Kingdom Valley from 06, Sunset Heights from Forces, Chaos Island from Frontiers, and Shibuya, very loosely based on the third live-action movie, with playable Keanu Shadow. This game even managed to give Forces aura. That's how you know this shit is good. Maybe Radical Highway was overused just, a tiny bit. There was also 4 new boss fights in the form of the Bio Lizard, Metal Overlord, the GOAT, with What I'm Made of to boot, Mephiles, who has possibly the funniest defeat in the game, and Neo Devil Doom, with a brand new remix of All Hail Shadow, which is fitting considering the story of this game, which on the topic of is a solid continuation of where Dark Beginnings left off, and even takes place side by side with the original Generation story, which is a little funny in hindsight considering Shadow time travels into the future twice, and presumably doesn't mention it to the rest of the cast. I mean, with the movie DLC too, he jumped universes, so Multiverse of Shadow 1. Also gotta give a shout out to the level designers for going with gothic architecture in the hub world. Does it make sense? Not really, but let's be real, really cool is king with this franchise. However, I feel like Sega have been fumbling with the potential of adding skins to Sonic games recently, as there's just not a lot, especially for a game like Generations, which is fundamentally designed to be a celebration of the Sonic franchise. It's cool and all we got Terios, but why is Movie Shadow restricted to the movie DLC, and why did they stop at only 3 skins post-launch? Although, a console skill issue I guess, as you can just mod on PC. Overall though, peak game, looking forward to Sonic X Silver Lost World next. Finally, we end the year of Shadow with the release of Sonic Movie 3, loosely adapting Adventure 2, although cutting Rouge, technically Amy, and the Bio Lizard, although it did make a very brief cameo as a tokusatsu-style monster, which was neat. Not to say that's a knock against the movie, as it was still incredible, vastly cutting down on the human character time screen, and actually featuring music from the games. Granted, it was limited to Green Hill Zone, Eggman's vocal theme from SA2 for barely a second, and a somewhat underwhelming rendition of Live and Learn, because it just sort of ends before it actually begins. And it's not even half the runtime of the original song. It just feels like the biggest blunder in this movie franchise so far. But baby steps and all that. Ignore the fact we're 3 movies deep, and a TV show, I guess. Personally, I feel like Keanu's take on Shadow was a little flat, and the changes to his backstory felt, I don't know, a little weird. Off, maybe is the better word. Like, Maria didn't have an illness in this continuity, so she's kinda just hanging around a gun base for no real reason. Plus, the arc was reduced to just being the Eclipse canon, although I feel like there's a lot of potential with Shadow crash landing on Earth, instead of being artificially created by Gerald, although only time will tell. Also, holy fuck, that Super Sonic versus Super Shadow fight was something else. Like, there were parts that straight up felt like a live-action Dragon Ball fight. Clearly someone on board was a fan of the early 2000s Sonic Flash animations, and whoever that was, you're the GOAT. Anyway, Sonic 4 predictions fire round. Neo Metal Sonic just kinda has to happen, maybe even a little bit of Time Stone and Little Planet shenanigans. But with Amy's sort of Terminator-style entrance and design, I feel like the movie is going to center around her trying to prevent the bad future in Sonic CD from occurring. I feel this guaranteed too will get a nod to the OVA with either the iconic Arctic scene, the Mel Robotnik fake out since Jim Carrey is seemingly down for a Fort movie, or some rendition of lookalike. On the topic of music, What I'm Made Of is probably a guarantee, along with maybe a reference to either Sonic Boom or You Can Do Anything if the movie has a time travel focus. Maybe even a Mecha Sonic or a Super Neo Metal Sonic nod. Fingers crossed for Metal Overlord though, I beg. I'll probably do a more in-depth predictions video in the future when we get a trailer though, because I mean, we don't really have much to work off. Although with the amount of Metal Sonic clones, it feels like movie 4 is going to be a accumulation of all the Sonic Flash animations from the 2000s, and I am so prepared for it. But to close out this video, it's safe to say the year Shadow was a banger and did not fail to disappoint, especially towards the end of the year. My god, fucking stacked. Realistically though, I don't think Sega can really replicate this year with another Sonic character other than, well, Sonic. Since Shadow is just that guy. Like what, you gonna do a year of Silver? A year of Infinite? I don't think so. Alright, make sure to live and learn. All hail Shadow, and remember, you are all of you. See ya.